Largo Resources produces vanadium in Brazil and just made the move to the TSX from the Venture Exchange. According to our guest, this shift gives Largo better visibility to the marketplace. It always looks more reassuring if you see TSX after a stock. And international investors, well, what do they think when you move up to a big board like that? We're joined now by the boss of Largo Resources, Mark Smith. He's president and CEO. Great to see you.
Pleasure to be here, Andrew.
And just remind us, so you're in production in Brazil.
That's
of this
correct.
metal, and vanadium, of course, is used as an alloy in very high-quality steel, maybe pipelines, for example.
Pipelines, rebar. I think the really interesting uses are things like aluminum, vanadium alloys used in the aerospace industry. Very high-tech.
Very light and strong, I'm guessing.
Light and strong, and really, there are no substitutes for that alloy in an airplane.
But it's a pretty tiny global market. I mean, it's a pretty specialized metal, this, isn't it?
It's very tiny. It's less than 100,000 tons per year, and of course, that's the big story, is the supply side has really dropped off the cliff. We're probably going to see 20,000 tons or more off the supply side. So when you look at supply and demand, there's going to be a deficit of this material, and it's going to be this year.
So 100,000 tons a year is the market. I mean, copper is 20 million tons
Very
mined.
small.
Yeah,
you don't need much to make steel a lot stronger, and that's the beauty of it.
Wow, it's really, it's just like an enzyme or something,
that's
a catalyst.
Right. It's just so little in there.
It's fascinating. Now, your production in Brazil is what, roughly?
We just set a record in June. We produced 801 tons in the month of June, which is nameplate capacity, and that is the equivalent of about 9,600 tons per year, and we are producing at that level right now. Our operations team has taken the facility, gone through the ramp up in about an 18-month period, and that is a phenomenally fast way to get to full production capacity. They've just done a tremendous job.
So you're about 10% of world supply?
That's correct.
And where does the other vanadium come from generally?
Over 55% comes from China, and then you've got about 20 to 30% coming out of South Africa and about 10% out of Russia. There's only 4 places in the world that produce it.
You said supply is falling. Why is that?
Falling. The prices went down for vanadium, like most resources. Very, very difficult year in 2015. People went into bankruptcy, and these were serious bankruptcies. These people are now out of business. They're selling pumps and salvage value equipment, and they're out of business. And so this is going to cause a major disruption, and we really haven't seen the full impacts of that yet. So I think that's going to be coming in the second half of this year.
Okay, and vanadium, like so many other commodities, spiked back in the 2008 period before the financial crisis.
Exactly.
So we've seen vanadium prices in pounds of about $330 US to $350 lately, down from $4 just a little while ago.
In May, that's right.
What price do you need vanadium to be cash flow positive?
You know, anything above about $3.60 a pound, we're going to be cash flow positive. And we do anticipate that the pricing of vanadium, because of this supply shortage, will increase quite nicely by the end of the year. We are just right on the cusp of being cash flow positive right now.
And you moved up to the TSX, and does it make institutions more comfortable with you?
Absolutely does. I mean, the control systems on the TSX are much greater than on TSXV. It opens up all of the international financial markets to us, gives us better credibility in the market. It's really a historic day for Largo. We got to ring the opening bell at TSX this morning. We just started trading Monday on the Toronto Stock Exchange, so it's well-deserved. The company has worked hard to get where they are today.
Now, just looking at your balance sheet, you still have about $200 million US of long-term debt?
Correct.
So when would you hope to pay? When's the first maturity? When are the maturities?
You know, we have a very good arrangement with our Brazilian banks. We have 3 Brazilian banks that we work with, and they have a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in us, and they've actually given us more time to pay those loans down, which gives us more room to maneuver as a company at that ramp up to full capacity time frame, which a lot of startups go through. So we have plenty of time to pay that off. We have another year and a half before we have to start paying any interest or principal on those loans.
So these aren't notes or debentures, they're simply bank loans?
Bank loans, that's correct.
Right, so you just went that route, you didn't, rather than issuing notes?
Correct, that was what was available at the time. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago, so that was the way it was done then. We have very attractive interest rates, and so we're happy with that. But we do want work on putting that debt lower and lower on the balance sheet. And of course, generating cash flow and producing the way we're producing, I think the stars are aligning very well for Largo right now.
Although, you know, you're only just in positive cash flow now. Right. So at that rate, I mean, if vanadium price doesn't come up substantially, won't it be troublesome to clear $200 million in debt?
You know, it's amazing what this company does as the price of vanadium goes up. And remember that the 30-year average price for vanadium is over $5 a pound. Mm-hmm. The 10-year average is $6.47 a pound. And you start getting above cash flow numbers because of the production volumes we have, the amount of cash that can be generated is quite significant, and we would expect to pay down loans very quickly.
Talk to us about Brazil, because of course there's political near chaos going on there. That has to be a point of concern for some investors.
You know, it probably is because it's in the press so much, but I can tell you that we're kind of in a very quiet area of Brazil. It's a country area. The people are very calm. You don't see political unrest out there. There are no protests or anything like that. Mm-hmm. What causes impacts to us is at the very high level, the foreign exchange rate can go up and down quite a bit. And so we do have to monitor that carefully, but we do, and we know how to manage that.
You're happy when the Brazilian currency goes down, I guess.
We would be very happy because our costs are primarily in the Brazilian currency. All of our revenue is U.S. dollars.
And we've less than a minute, but just tell us about the mine itself. Is it open pit, underground?
It's an open pit mine, very complex metallurgy that we have to go through, and our operators really understand what they're doing now.
Yeah, what do you do about processing the ore? Because it sounds very specialized.
It's very specialized. There's many steps, many chemical forms you put the vanadium through. It takes a tremendous amount of knowledge, and you're going to make a few mistakes along the way. We did. We know how to produce now, and we're at nameplate capacity today.
Next time you come in, Mark, I hope we can get you to bring a lump of vanadium. So we can have a look at it. I always forget to ask you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Mark Smith has been our guest. He's president and CEO at Largo Resources.